Joder, not this guy!
Who are you? Yeah, stop right there!
Even the big cheese, I mean Chief Bitores Mendez, gets extra shades to his character in the remake thanks to files and pictures found in his house detailing and showcasing life in the village prior to the arrival of the Los Iluminados and Las Plagas. It is revealed in these files and pictures that the responsibility of being the village chief weighed on him greatly. He was not sure if he could do a good job or not, but he vowed to do his best. Despite his misgivings, it's clear that he cared deeply about the village. He taught the children, he gathered with the other villagers in his house to talk about how to improve the village. He happily wrote about all the improvements made to the village under his guidance. He was clearly delighted by the progress the village made. Additionally, he was suspicious of the Los Iluminados. He wondered if trusting them was the right choice. He was concerned about what such outsiders could do to the village and its inhabitants. You cannot help but feel a little bad for him in the remake, since while he is still a faithful servant of Sadler, meaning that he is, well, evil, we now know that he is essentially a victim. He was a good man who cared about those around him, but he was ultimately turned into a monster with no trace of the kindness and humanity he once had. In the original, he had no such backstory. He had no backstory at all, in fact. So what he said and did is all he was as a character. Meaning that he was nothing more than an unredeemable villain. He was just a monster with no shred or trace of humanity, with no semblance of compassion or goodwill. He was just someone to fear. Giving him such a backstory and making him a tragic figure, a victim, really elevates him as a character, since it makes him more complex and more sympathetic. He is no longer someone you just hate. Instead, you feel for him, since he was forced to become evil against his will. He probably despaired at the thought of having to relinquish the good within him, at the thought of hurting and ruining the villagers and the village he cared so much about and vowed to protect. For someone like him that cared so deeply about others and that was such a kind soul, it must have been absolutely devastating and heart-wrenching to become a puppet meant to spread evil and destruction. His last moments before Las Plagas took control must have been horrifying for him. It almost feels like a mercy to end him, since he was finally released of such a terrible burden. He was finally given peace. Like the classic trope of the good person controlled into being evil, who demands, during a lapse in said control, to be released of such a harrowing experience through death. However, they wisely chose not to go this far with Chief Mendez, since this would have almost completely exonerated him of all fault, thus lessening the significance of his role as the first big boss slash bad guy. They cleverly made sure that while he is now worthy of pity, he is still evil. He is not entirely absolved of his sins. Additionally, all of this extends to the ganado as well, since it is clear that they were once normal villagers who wanted nothing more than to live in peace. But they were also forced to become evil. So his backstory is basically the backstory of his subjects, meaning that just like he became sympathetic, a victim, more interesting, and more complex, so did they, elevating the entire village portion of the game. Finally, he also gets to honor his new Mr. X-like design by chasing after you momentarily, which is great. It is a nice and scary surprise. Plus, it expanded his role, giving him more to do outside of cutscenes and his boss fight. I only wish that this section was longer.